Sorry. So welcome, everybody.
Okay. And I think we want to just, we've got Mildred Shearer here from BCCE. And we wanted to start off, I believe, by talking about after school. Mildred, you had started to talk a bit at the SBAC, Superintendent Budget Advisory Committee meeting. Sorry, my brain's not working so well. And it seemed like there was a lot more to say. And so maybe you could give us a little bit of background about your, what you do and how, and help us better understand some of the issues at play here, because I feel like we are all coming at it from one perspective. We have a few people who have sat on that committee. That's a work group between parents and Yusuf was meeting with them. And I think, was it Brazil also meeting with them and talking about after school programming? But like, maybe you can give us a bit of a background and introduction, Mildred.
Okay, so I am the vice president for BCCE, and I have been in the school district for 33 years, working for 33 years, permanent. But I'm also a Berkeley student and Berkeley resident. I grew up in Berkeley. I've been in Berkeley since I was 3 years old. So I have this thing where I say I am Berkeley, and if you don't know Mildred Simon before I was married, then you're not from Berkeley. So I went to Columbus when it was Columbus, but now it's Rosa Parks, King, Washington, and well, I couldn't go to Berkeley High because I was getting in trouble at King. So yeah, that's just the background about me. And then my mother also worked for the district and retired. And then I had a daughter that went, of course, through Berkeley and graduated from Berkeley High and went on to UC Santa Cruz.
Ooh,
So
congratulations, sure.
yeah, so I am all about Berkeley. So I'm very passionate and I'm um, very union. So the whole after school program thing, I actually gave I went to closed session and I gave like a background to the board to get them to understand where the union was coming from and our background about the just like a little background about the after school program, because I do believe that a lot of people they don't understand why and where we're coming from. So there's, as you know, there are different unions, right? There's Local 21, there's BCCE, and so forth. The coordinator's position was created a couple of years ago, but there was a concern at that time when that coordinator's positions were created, because by them creating a coordinator's position, it was a conflict with the after school program specialist, which
So would that,
are
real quick, would that
Mhm.
coordinator then be over the both Bears and Learns? Is that the idea?
um no,
Okay.
no, because if I'm not mistaken, Bears is in the morning.
Mm.
Is
They're
it the
both,
other way around?
no, one
No,
is for, go ahead, Scott, you say.
I mean Bears is in the morning and in the after school. It's for
Learns.
they're right.
Both.
Learns is the one that I think is just after school. Learns is the one where the you have to pay, and Bears is the one that's um is
Morning.
very much subsidized.
At least at our school, at our elementary school, is a late start school, and we have both morning and after school for both programs. That I
Right.
was
So what
aware
I'm
of.
saying is for the after school program, Bears is morning, right? It's in the
No,
morning.
both. They're both, it's both morning and after.
Right. But what I'm
It-
saying is so that okay, so let me say it this way. The after school specialist, after school program, like the coordinators would not cover the morning, would not cover Bears. It
Oh,
would
it would
be
just be an after school.
after school program. So the coordinator would cover learns.
Well, but we have Bears after school as well. Like, it's two separate programs because the staffing levels are different.
So then if
And
they're after a certain time, it will cover
okay,
that, like the after
gotcha.
school program, because they will come in at a certain time.
Okay.
if
Sorry,
that makes sense.
I interrupted you, sorry.
No, it's okay, because I want us to make sure that we understand. So you could ask me whatever you want, interrupt. I want to make sure that everyone understands. The learns coordinator is on call in case the staff calls out for bears. So they have to be, they come in at 10 o'clock, but they can come in early. It just depends. Does that make
Okay.
sense? Because that's the same for the specialist as well. So the
Gotcha.
specialist was there, the specialist was there prior to the coordinator. The coordinators are the specialist. So the
Gotcha.
coordinators that they created
It's
were
just
actually,
is it a higher paid position?
it's a higher paid position, but they're doing the same work as a specialist. So that's where the conflict came in, is because we're saying, where BCC is saying is, you can't take our work and give it to another union. That's our work.
Oh, I see.
And that's where the conflict is coming in. You can't say, we're going to take BCCE's work and give it to another union and then pay them more, especially when you don't have coordinators at every site and you don't have specialists at every site. So how can you have two different positions, two different unions doing the exact same work? So I can give
I
examples.
see.
For example, at Scott's school, at Willard, there's just a coordinator. Then we have at Oxford, it's just a coordinator. At
So what's the motivation to change the positions to something that's higher paid? Is the idea
because
like
it
what's
started with
what's
the
motivation on their
principals
end?
not, it started with the principals not wanting to be responsible for after school, and they were saying that there needs to be supervision. So they said, oh, we're going to create coordinators and put them at every site, and then we're going to, so the principals doesn't have to be responsible anymore. But the same people that are saying it needs supervision are the same people that were there already as specialists. So what we're saying is, if you're talking about money and we have to make this cut, first of all, you didn't need to create 12 coordinators when it was the specialists in the first place, because the coordinators are not going to be there for the students. They're not
Actually providing
they're
support.
not
They're
actually
just
there with the
supervising.
students. The specialists are, not the coordinators. By them eliminating the coordinator's position does not eliminate the program. So that's false information that's being given as is. The
Gotcha.
program is not going away. And this whole thing started, and I don't know how long any of you have been around, but it goes back to where Emily David Dow was there. And I don't know if any of you are aware or know about her, but Emily David Dow was there when the program first started, and that was one person.
Like one
One
person
person.
who is
One
supervising all the
supervised
after
that
school
program.
programs?
It was because there was after school program specialists that was at each site, because those are the people that are working with the students, that are there with the students. They are the ones that run the program. They do all the work that the coordinators are doing right now. Those are the after school program specialists. So like, for example, at Rosa Parks, there's a specialist. At Ars Magnet, there's a specialist. At where, I'm trying to think of the other schools.
So is the idea that they were having a hard time keeping people in the positions, and that's why they created coordinators that could be paid better? Like, what's the
No,
motivation
it
on
has
their
nothing to do, it has nothing to do with being able to keep people. Nothing.
Okay.
That was never the issue.
Do we
Because
know what the deal
the
was?
people that are, so listen, the people that are coordinators right now, they were IT. Some of them were ITs prior, and then some of them were specialists prior.
Huh. Okay.
They took the test and they became coordinators. So that's when it was really weird to see them at the board meeting saying things. And it was like, well, wait a minute. How can you say that it needs to be supervision when you guys were the people that were actually the specialists prior to becoming a coordinator? So what are you saying? That's a contradiction in what you're saying, when you guys were the ones that was actually there as specialists when there was no one else there. So what is the difference between you being a specialist and was being there, and then you being a coordinator was there? These are all facts. This is not something that I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is stuff that can be proven.
And so so moving forward, I mean, I know I've seen, again, cuts on Mildred and I both sit on the Superintendent Budget Advisory Committee meetings, and I know I've seen cuts proposed, but what is the idea moving forward? Is it to shift back to more specialist, less?
Well, what
coordinator?
BCCE is fighting and what we have been fighting is that BCC has never agreed to give up our positions. We're saying, first and
Okay.
foremost, you guys are going to find yourself at a lawsuit because that's our work. You can't take work from
Yeah.
one unit and give to another. We never agreed to it, and it never made sense. And we've been fighting this for almost a couple of years now. If you can go back and listen to the Merit Commission where we're saying, well, wait a minute, you can't do that.
Right.
It's just it's illegal. It's a violation of error.
Right. It would
Right.
need,
So it's
it
you
would,
can't take
yeah.
work from one union and give it to another. So that's why we've been fighting this so hard, because we're saying that's our work. Those are our positions.
Right.
We're saying if this is about student need, that's specialist. You can't say it's about student needs, but you're creating higher ups or you're creating coordinators positions because those aren't the people that's working with the students.
So again, my wondering though is, why would this have made sense in the first place? Like, why would they have wanted to create more coordinator positions and fewer specialists if it's costing more money?
Because there was someone that came in that was named Christy who didn't understand how things work, and she just did things that she didn't know, and that's why the program now is in a 1.7 million deficit. And now they got to
Okay.
figure it out because their after school program don't have the money because they did things that they weren't supposed to do. And she was only here for like 2 months, and then all this crazy stuff. And it's like, well, wait a minute, what are you doing? They created these
Is that,
positions that they weren't supposed to create, so it's a conflict. Go ahead, Matt,
and
Scott.
is that Christy Rosignio?
Yes, she's
Yeah.
not here anymore.
No, but she was there for a full year.
She was here, but when this happened, she was only here for 2 months. She had started
Okay.
that July when the creation of the coordinators happened.
I
Christy
see.
had just started. She had only been here since
Okay.
July. Right? So then we went to the PC when they was trying to create the position in August, and the PC put it on hold. And then
Who's the PC? I'm sorry.
the Personnel Commission, because we're a merit district.
Thank you.
And they
Gotcha.
have to be the
Thank you.
ones to approve job descriptions. They put it on hold, and then somehow, I don't know what happened. The next thing we know, the job description was created, and the union never agreed to it. So that's our concern. So what we're saying now is those positions are needed. It gives back 1.4 something million, 1 million and 400 some thousand. Put our specialist positions back the way it always has been, because it's for student needs, right? Those are the people that actually work
Yeah.
directly with the students. And the program can be ran with, you have Brazil, then whoever takes USEF's position, and they could actually use maybe 1 to 2 coordinators and split the schools up, because you don't need a coordinator at each site, because those aren't the people that's working directly with the students.
So you still think it's likely that they'll keep a couple of the coordinator positions that will
Well,
move across?
this is what I think could happen. This is just me thinking, because at the end of the day, you still don't want
Yeah.
anybody to probably lose their job, right? But those people that are coordinators now, again, they were specialists. So they can actually go back to being specialists, right?
Yeah.
This is my thinking.
Right.
And this was something I was thinking about
Switch
proposing.
back to the other union.
They will, well, the specialist positions are BCCE positions. We never
Oh,
agreed to
okay.
give up our positions. The
Okay.
coordinator's positions is a local 21 position. It's like a 5%
Right.
difference, I think, or something in pay.
Okay.
What I was thinking, this is something I was thinking about proposing to SBAC, where it can work and save jobs, right? Because at the end of the day, you still don't want people to lose their job.
Well, and we definitely need as many people. I mean, like, we don't want that program shrinking. If anything, we want that
So
program
that's
growing.
the thing that I feel
Yeah.
like people are misinformed. The program will not shrink.
Right.
The program the way the program was ran.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see how I can explain this. They all cannot possibly go back to specialist because they all didn't come from being a specialist. The way bumping works, they will go back to their previous position. That could be in IT. That could be wherever their position was prior, right? But the way I'm looking at it, being that there are vacancies as specialist, which is not that far off from a coordinator, it's not like they will lose a lot of money. What I need you all to understand is that the position was never supposed to be created in the first place. It was a violation. And what BCCE can do, and I'm just being honest with you all because I will not lie, I will follow UOP because they were never supposed to do that. And it's a violation to, you cannot take work from one union and give to another. Now, what is happening now is if you look at it across the board, and if I was to do a spreadsheet, you have two different classifications doing the exact same work. So I will give you the
Well,
example
If
again. You
anything,
have
though, it
people
sounds
at
like,
Willard, you have a coordinator at Willard doing a ULP is an unfair labor practice, ULP. You have a coordinator at Willard doing the work, and then you have a specialist at Rosa Parks, right? There's no coordinator at Rosa Parks. There's no specialist at Willard, but they're doing the exact same thing.
right. And so it's really just defining
doesn't
the
make
role as
sense.
it was before, except the coordinator isn't supposed to be providing direct care where the specialist is.
Yes.
Erin, you've had your hand up for an age. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Erin. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. How do we give confidence? So let's say, so I'm at Oxford and we have a coordinator and
No
I'm
specialist.
right. So how would we have confidence that then, let's say our coordinator role goes away, that we would then get a specialist or some other position that does
It wouldn't be
that role
another
that's
position.
needed?
It wouldn't be another position. What it would be is a specialist because there's a vacancy at
Okay.
your site for a specialist. So there used to be 12 specialists. There was a specialist at each site. When they created the
Elementary?
coordinator's position, those specialists that used to be at the sites, they took the test. So some of those specialists have become coordinators. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. So do you think, just so that I can help explain this to community, would it look like we would see our current coordinator get offered a specialist like change, or would we just see him go away, a specialist role open, and he's like allowed to apply for it?
Well, this is where I was getting ready to share with you all. This is something that I was thinking about because I'm pretty educated on this in this process. And what I think that can be negotiated is something called Tucker rights. What that is called preferential rights. And what can happen is with there being vacancies, because right now we have 5 specialists, right? So that leaves 7 vacancies. There are 9 coordinators. If they take 2 of those coordinators, right? So that'll leave 7 people, right? They could take 2 of those coordinators and make those and leave those coordinators, whoever, but this all has to go by seniority. You must
Right,
go by seniority.
because it's a union position.
It's a union position. Everything is based off of seniority. So you
Yeah.
take the 2 top people and you can leave them as coordinators. You can split the schools in half, right? I'm saying to oversee.
Right.
Because I'm gonna tell you, there's no work there, literally, for them to do because the work is in the job description of the specialist. That's what
Right.
I'm telling you. It's in the job description of the after school program specialist. And if you think I'm telling you a story, you can get online, go into human resources and read the job description of the specialist. There are the ones that's working with the actual
Right.
students, right? Okay.
Mildred, real quick, we've got a
Mhm.
couple questions that
Yes,
will
go
help
ahead.
with parents. Are specialists year-round positions?
They're 11 months.
11. Okay. And so for understanding, making the coordinator positions actually decrease the amount of student learns that
Absolutely not. It has
accommodate?
nothing to do with that.
So it doesn't, that does not affect the teacher student ratio.
Actually, if you put the specialist back, it shouldn't be where there are any students on waiting lists. Because again, I'm saying the coordinators don't work directly with the students.
Right.
The
So it should
specialist
be-
does. So if you
Gotcha.
don't want your students on waiting list, then you put the specialist back because you have student specialists at each site. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
It's the specialist, it's the IAs, I mean the ITs that are working directly with the students. And that is what we need.
Right. And
So
again,
we don't
like,
have
so
students on a waiting list.
the rationale we'll never know because Christy was the one who did that and she's gone. For
Well,
why we
USEF
have
is
all
there.
these.
USEF
but
is
you
there.
know why we
Brazil
would,
is there.
but they didn't make those that determination that we needed all these coordinator positions, did they? Or was it, I don't know. There was a lot of information in that look, so. But like, because I mean, I don't get what the rationale would be to have all these coordinator positions.
It
Other
never
than,
made it,
again,
and
did it
because I
answer
just told you the rationale was the whole point
because of
of
the principals. The principals
the
didn't want to be
principals did
responsible.
not want to stay after school to do any, to supervise or whatever.
But
So
if
it
they
was
had
supposed
the
to be
specialists, why would it matter? Like maybe the specialists then become that person. Okay.
that, but it was a specialist there in the first place. That's what I'm saying. So when they were
Yeah.
at the board meeting saying all those things, it didn't make any sense because I'm saying, so what are you saying? You weren't trustworthy when you was a specialist because you are the
And
same
now suddenly
people.
you are because you're a coordinator?
Exactly, because you're the same person who was there anyway. So what makes it
Yeah.
different from you being a coordinator and a specialist when you was there anyway?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Go ahead, Scott.
I can't hear
think
you,
you're
but you're
muted.
not muted. That's weird. You're not muted.
Sorry, just to be clear. So you had all the ITs, right, who were reporting to this coordinator on site,
What do you
and
mean?
then no, I'm just trying to understand what the hierarchy was, right? I thought it was like all the ITs on site reported to the specialist who was kind of leading the program at the site, and then the
So the
specialist reported to the coordinator, which was Brazil.
No, the ITs were report to Brazil because the specialists were leads. They were considered leads. Does that make sense? They were leads.
I see.
They weren't their direct supervisor because BCCE cannot supervise another BCCE. So
Oh.
Okay.
Brazil was the actual supervisor. That's why I'm saying it could be they can have two coordinators that will oversee the
I see.
specialists and the ITs.
Okay,
But when I'm
the
telling
fact,
you
I mean,
that where the way it used to be, the way the whole program used to ran, when there was none of this, it was actually done by one person, which is Emily David Dow, and she will oversee the whole program. And that was just by
so
one
you're saying that officially, I mean, de facto, the specialist at the site was leading the program, but
Yes, they did.
officially
Yes.
on paper, everybody reported to Brazil.
Like if you
Yes.
looked at an org chart, it would be Brazil and
Yeah.
then
It was
everybody.
Brazil. Well, I'm sure you guys been around, so it was Aaron Jorgensen,
Right.
Brazil, and then you go to the sites. Before Aaron, it was Zach and I can't think of the other person's name. It was another person. It was Zach and then another person. And then when they added, because first it started with Learns, and then when Bears came, because it was just Learns at first. Then when they adopted Bears, then that's when
Right.
Brazil came. And then before that, it was just Learns, and that was just ran by, like I said, Emily David Dow.
And so then they created these more coordinator positions underneath Brazil.
Right.
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 And I see.
And that's why they're
Okay.
broke.
Okay.
This has been so helpful, Mildred. Like, again, like we are seeing things only from our sort of perspective as parents. It's been really helpful to have you sort of break down the other issues at play here.
Hi, Dr. Shanowski. Sorry, I had to acknowledge her because I love her.
And I'll be curious to like to see your proposal at our meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I have a really because I think that it's a good idea. It saves money and it saves people. So and it makes sense.
Well, and it
really makes sense.
theoretically will open up some more positions off the wait list. I mean, that would be amazing. I know, again, that
Absolutely. And I just really, I was talking to the president about it today and I was like, oh my God, why didn't we think about this? And then I took a class over the weekend and found out about Tucker rights and everything. So it just makes sense. And it'll help the district, it'll help everybody. So it does make sense.
Well, we really
right.
appreciate you taking the time to come in tonight. I'll see you on
Absolutely.
Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, you guys. Anybody have any more questions before I leave? No?
If you don't mind, I can circulate amongst our group. I'll circulate your email. Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
That's
you
great.
so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, well, so that was like a whole thing on union union rules and bargaining and how that's affecting our after school programming. Okay. Let me pull up our agenda. Is there, I mean, we had after school on our agenda already. Let me pull up if I can find our agenda, we can look and see, are there other areas we want to make sure we talk about tonight?
Here, I'm gonna put it in the chat, the bullets. We have Michelle here from Berkeley High. I know there was an issue concerning PE.
Oh, yes,
Affect
please.
all of us.
Anybody wants me to share information, I'm happy to do so. I don't want to change your agenda, but if you would like me to talk about it, I'm happy to.
I have you on the agenda, and since you're here, that's okay. That's what I suggest. That's all right, folks?
Yeah, please.
So go for it, Michelle.
Okay, so basically, the short version is that the California Department of Education audited Berkeley High, and Berkeley High is out of compliance for how it's implementing its PE high school graduation requirements. This school district has been communicating with rising ninth graders, current eighth grade families. What they have not done is communicated with the rising 10th through 12th graders. Since now the whole system is changing, and we have not yet been told what the transition plan is for this group of 2,000 students to graduate. We don't know how many. The students that need to finish their requirements to graduate, nor what is the plan for the longer term PE structures, what's going to be implemented in 2026, 2027, because basically everything has to change. What we've been granted through the hard work of the superintendent and BUSD is an extension of time. All of their findings will have to be addressed and implemented, but we've gotten 7 more months to plan for the longer term. So if we can come up with a new system for December 2025, so prior to scheduling in January 2026 for the following school year. But in the meantime, we have a whole lot of young people here who have counted on PE waivers, outside courses, club sports, dance classes, and all sorts of other ways that Berkeley High has traditionally allowed them to fulfill their graduation requirement. And those are all gone for the moment. I tried to give the school a little bit of grace period because they did not expect this. They're kind of scrambling at a very busy season for them. However,
didn't they also, I mean, this was something that's been they've been out of compliance about this, I think, for about like 18 years. Like many students have managed to move through this old way of doing things, even though they weren't supposed to. And the sense I got was that we finally got called on and have to make a change. So we were hoping that we could continue to get away with it, and we cannot.
That's correct. Berkeley has long been out of compliance with state law. There was an official pause during the pandemic and for a couple of years afterwards where high schools were not allowed. I mean, we're not required to fulfill the standard requirements. And the last couple of years that's been tightened up. And then there's just every 4 or 5 years, a certain percentage of school districts in California are audited for this. And Berkeley High's number came up, and the auditor did not like what they saw. And that is one California Department of Education employee, and there is various ways to fulfill this according to the Ed Code. We were way over here, and now we're kind of overcorrecting over here. And hopefully with some serious planning and some serious study of the Ed Code, because we do need to comply, that we can find a place that's in the middle that can also accommodate some of the domino effects that's hurting our our students. So longer term, we got to address all of the different dominoes. Shorter term, we need to let our students know, do they need to change their course requests? Do they need to change their summer plans? Because if, as it stands today, there are no PE waivers, no club sports, no beginning dance, none of these things counting, no summer waivers, there's no summer sports, then they need to pick a new plan. Change their electives, take an outside course, do something like that.
And I know a lot of students had been meeting some of the other requirements, like taking a language at the city college, and now that's no longer acceptable either. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
Oh, okay, great.
It is the law, and it's set up that students are allowed to do concurrent enrollment, to do dual enrollment at Berkeley City College and any other community college in California. It does need to be signed off on the high school, especially if they're going to get credit back at the high school. And their academic counselor signs for it. And now they actually have a VP checking on it to making sure things are done correctly. They cannot deny them taking it. They are allowed to make room in their schedule that way. And some students who have the ability to take extra courses or college level work, that will work for them. Other students, it won't work for them. Our students in our CLC classes with an IEP, or multilingual students who already don't have an elective. There's many domino implications that it'll cause problems for the Berkeley BAHS, the IB school, for CAS, for other schools that have extra slots in it. But those are small potatoes compared to the fact that we'll gut the VAPA department. Students won't be able to take beginning music, chorus, drama, robotics, all the visual arts, things like that. And if there is less students enrolled, then those courses, the teachers' hours will be dropped. If the students don't take the prereqs, the advanced courses enrollment will drop, and then the VAPA department. Eventually, the VAPA department will be much smaller. Not to mention that our music program that they've been going through. But it impacts both kids that want to take extra classes at Berkeley City College. It takes kids who takes a CLC class for their IP, and they also want some kind of motivation, something fun for them to do that helps them motivate them go to school. I think that if we tried to get them to change the bell schedule this fall, the Berkeley High School administration would have a nervous breakdown. It is incredibly difficult to schedule 3,200 students and 100 plus teachers before school lets out for the fall. However, there's no reason we can't do that for the following school year. So I think that there's really two tiers here. The big picture, what's going to be Berkeley High's plan going forward, and we need a thoughtful work group of staff, maybe a few parents, like whoever is interested and knowledgeable about this, to kind of really come up with what the longer term solution will be. And in the meantime, we have to put a little pressure on BUSD and BHS to give us some answers of what is the interim plan going to be for the current students rising. And I know a little bit of it involves some negotiations with the California Department of Education, but that they're the ones with the stats. Is this 200 kids that won't graduate? Is this 1,000 kids that won't graduate? Like, what are we talking about here? Because we've essentially been taking the money that other schools spend on PE and offshoring it, like to private organizations like the YMCA. And it's worked really well for our community. We can't do that exact model anymore. It's not going to be allowed. But we got to figure out a transition plan. There are ways of beefing up. People keep calling it a PE waiver. PE was never waived. It was substituted. And so the waiver word has to go away. But if we're going to do independent PE substitutions or outside PE alternatives, it's going to have to be beefed up according to the California Ed Code. And it's very clear that over the course of 9th through 12th grade, we have to hit all 8 content areas of the PE standards. However, they don't have to do it in one single course. Just over the course of their career, they have to hit that. So maybe we need a 1 semester that covers all 8 content areas, and then students can do an independent or single sport version for the other times. There's multiple ways to meet the Ed Code. It takes a little planning, takes a little coordination. And I definitely believe the district and the school can work this out by December. They need to get people working on it now, or at least a committee assigned to do the various research. This will also needs to include a change to the bell schedule. Long term, if we're really going to do this, it has to be 7 periods. there's a lot of programs you plug in your instructional hours, your teacher contract hours, your passing periods, and they say, these are the 3 bell schedules that will work for your school with these needs. Then people need to vote, goes to the school board eventually. Teachers have to be behind it. There's work that would need to be done to adjust the bell schedule by December for the following fall. Totally doable. So we need 2 tiers. A short term, yes, no, yes, no. How are we going to graduate these kids? Because we have a 1-year exemption right now. We do not have a 2 to 3 year exemption. Like this same is going to slam down on us in a year if this is not planned for, because there's not really a way out of the California Ed Code, unless you want to go talk to the legislature and the governor. But there is a way how to fulfill this that we can do. So the district and the high school are working so hard on the budget. Layoffs, it's super duper challenging for them. Our wonderful people are just maxed out. If parents don't raise this as a key issue, then it's going to be punted and put off till later when people are a little bit less exhausted. And I get it. They are so tired and they're working so hard and many extra hours. It's a lot. But
Is this large? I mean, is this an issue that's being taken up at the district level or just at the Berkeley High level?
Okay, so I went to the school board policy committee meeting and I asked straight out to the entire room, who are the deciders?
Yeah.
Is it a high school admin? Is it a district superintendent? Is it a school board issue? Or is this being run from the California Department of Education? I did not get an answer. I get the sense it's kind of got to be a group effort here, because Berkeley High admin cannot decide this on their own. This is too big. The state requires the school board to approve the final policy for how PE is fulfilled. So at some point, this is going to end up on the school board's desk to vote on. Superintendent is the point of contact with the Department of Education and Resources, and it's kind of above the high school, but only deeply understood the impact by the high school.
We have a second, I mean, we have BTech, right? Like there is a second high school. Do they fall into this as well?
They have to have 2 years to graduate. I don't know how they implement theirs.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, unless you have a medical or IEP exemption of some sort, every student has to do at least 2 years of PE.
Gotcha.
It's the how they do it.
Yeah. No, I mean,
It
and
is.
again, like I remember hearing when my daughter, my 13-year-old, when she was 2, her babysitter was like, oh yeah, I go to the Y and that's how I do my PE. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Right. So this is clearly something that's been going on for, like I said, like almost 20 years. And we're being told it needs to change, not immediately, but pretty close. And it's affecting these next couple graduating classes pretty significantly.
Yeah, and I've been told that we were kind of explaining all the dominoes, the impact on our most vulnerable students, and but Berkeley Site also ran an article saying, oh, it's the music program, and it made the Department of Education feel kind of elitist about it. In truth, it really hurts our full range of students, and eventually they'll come up with a great system that works out for our rising ninth graders, and it'll get implemented if everybody gets on it. In the meantime, we got to graduate all these kids. And parents do not know. They've been very good communication with the 8th grade / rising 9th grade parents. The 10th through 12th grade parents have no idea this is coming down the road. And that is not fair, because students need to be able to make decisions about their careers, about what their plan is for college, I mean, they may be counting on certain courses to fulfill their how they're going to appeal to the colleges when they apply and that they won't have room for, or they may be planning, other things for summer that'll look good on their college applications. It might impact that end. And then it's super duper gonna hurt our graduation and UC eligibility. I mean, the district cares very much about this, and we have a pretty good graduation rate for most groups. We have a sucky level of UC CSU eligibility. It's like 60-something%, and that's going to drop considerably if we don't solve this problem. So it's a challenge at a difficult. We have to make this cost neutral because we're cutting budgets like crazy. But there are definitely ways to make this cost neutral, and it's going to take some volunteer committee time to do it.
Is that maybe the ask me? Because again, we only have a handful of us here tonight, but these minutes go out to all of our PTAs. Is that maybe the ask is for, interested folks to reach out? Would it be to you or to somebody else on school site at Berkeley High to help support a working group or a working committee?
I honestly don't know how to start or organize the working group. I mean, maybe that's a question for Jennifer. what the admin has told me to tell all parents is if your child is at risk of not graduating because they have not finished their 2 years of PE, write immediately to your high school academic counselor and say, hey, I'm not sure what the plan is. I don't know what is going to work out, but I'm at risk of not graduating. What counts? What should I take? Do I need to change my course request? 2, they're collecting all the data on how it's impacting people. The email I just sent out, bhspe@berkeley.net.
Yeah.
And one of the VPs told me that they only got 13 emails to that. I said, because you didn't send it out to the families. It's at the bottom of the FAQ that went out to 8th grade families in tiny things saying, if you have any more questions, send it here. So nobody knows that this email exists, what it's supposed to be for. And so what I was saying you have to do is email people saying, this is how this hurts my students. This is she's a graduation risk or eligibility risk. This is the questions I have that I need answered so my kid can make plans. And 3, what kinds of remedies would be acceptable to me? Oh yeah, you want my email? Sure, I can put that in the chat there. I just posted on the Berkeley High School Parents Facebook group, a memo. I just posted it to the BTA.
You PTA council, you posted to this group. I got it maybe
I just posted to that.
at 7:42 tonight. So
yeah, sorry, I was working on it today. Someone asked me to post it. That's why I
and
decided.
it looks like the change that I'm seeing on here that I didn't realize was that interscholastic sports will still receive credit.
Yes, because it's in the ed code, so they've been granted that.
Gotcha. I mean, that does help, I'm sure.
Yeah, there are a lot of students that use interscholastic sports. I think maybe even up to 40 or 50%. So
it certainly makes sense. Those, crew kids that are out there on the water for an hour every day shouldn't have to also take PE later. Like,
yeah, but club sports don't count.
so is that a club sport or is that an interscholastic sport? Like, how do you know which is which?
I don't know because I'm not a sporty parent, so I don't know the difference.
Okay.
It has to be
Club sports are the ones that are like that's like league soccer is considered a club sport. It has no official affiliation.
Oh,
So
but
if you're
like
doing
Berkeley High's crew team would be a classic.
all those
Yeah.
right. But lots of kids count on like my kid is
Sure.
getting a PE waiver for club soccer.
Right. Right. And this would say that no longer works.
Right.
And again, like no longer works in a backdated way. So like a high school junior right now would be hosed because they would need to get how many credits of PE. That's
they have 60 seniors that are that can't rising seniors that can't graduate because they need 4 semesters and they don't have enough time to do 4 semesters. So that's just like that's the tip of the iceberg there, and those are the ones they know about because parents and students don't know it's an issue. That nobody has written to their counselors to say, hey, it's an issue.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't want to draw attention to themselves. Well, guess what? When it comes to
not
trying
gonna matter.
and walk, the attention will be there. So
well, and it seems like something that the school counselors should probably be involved with as well, right? Like that's part of readiness for
I don't know, do they sit down in 9th or 10th grade and make sure their kids have a plan to graduate? Like, I don't even know how this works. I
graduated Berkeley High so long ago that it's nowhere near the same as it used to be, but.
Yeah, so basically we need to write to the PE FAQ email. We need to, each student needs to contact their counselor so they can get a head count of how many students are impacted. You would think they have some system to track how many kids have fit their PE requirements, but
yeah, because they all had to fill out paperwork at some point, but.
Do they not check until 2nd semester of senior year? Like when is this checked?
Yeah.
You think they should check all the 10th graders because they need 2 years. And then we need to speak out about a changes to a bell schedule because Berkeley High is not going to initiate it. It's too big.
Right.
And we have to get the teachers on board. We have to get the teachers union on board. It has to be eventually passed by the school board. And people need to know what the proposal is. Because in the past, I heard there was 2 different proposals. One was turned down because they didn't want a certain kind of schedule that they weren't meeting every day, the 4x4 like they had during the pandemic. And
block periods, probably.
well, there's many different kinds of block periods. What they didn't like is the 4 classes at a time, take a break from the time, another 4 classes at a time. A lot of schools do alternating days. periods, 1, 3, 5 one day and 2, 4, 6
I mean, I
the
think
next
that's the way
day.
the middle schools work. But again, that sounds like something the work group can work on. I think from our end, we'll get this out to all the other parents. Oh, there's another message that just popped up here. The academic counselors at BHS have big caseloads. Yeah, they do. But they do not have a great rep for proactive assistance.
And they also don't always have accurate information. I've been told by a number of parents that they've been told wrong information. I said, very gently write back and say, hi, this is why we have to do this or that, or we have to ask that. And then I just write back in a few days later. Eventually my email will pop to the top of things and they'll answer. They're also more responsive to students. So if your student writes, sometimes they answer them first. And then if they don't
Yeah, I
answer,
mean,
about a bunch of times you just
again,
show up in their office and wait.
Di, do you want to say a little bit more? Like, is this something that we would want to bring to the school board in their public comment as a group? Or
No,
is that
so my
something maybe
question-
the Berkeley High parents are already planning?
No, I was actually wondering if Jennifer could speak to that. Is the board aware of this issue, and is this high on their priority, or has there been a working group at the board level to kind of help support this?
Board is aware of it, but and they have it on their agenda for this Wednesday's meeting, like a PE update, but they're playing catch up too. I mean, everybody's playing catch up. There's not any real villain in this. There's just like needs to be some push forward. I think they're aware of the issue. I think they got that the ninth graders got an extension, but it's pretty unclear to me that they know what needs to happen going forward. Jennifer, are you there? Or are you off double multitasking? Jennifer might be multitasking.
Yeah.
I
We
don't
should-
really have an organized way of getting parent energy yet. I mean, I thought like maybe the middle school and high school PTAs could send something out. I mean, the middle schools have better lists. The Berkeley High School, we have the e-tree, but it goes through the school and it has to be approved and sent out by the school. So I guess we
Well,
could
this
find.
sounds like something the school would want involvement on, so they would at least be motivated.
Yeah, we just have to figure out like, because I mean, I tried to call it transition group. Like we just have to make some decisions. Like I sent all of the questions that I have and they have not answered any of them yet. And so this is more than a week ago. So I figured they needed a few days, but they still haven't answered. And then they also, it's going to impact every single middle school family.
Oh, it's gonna it's a trickle down. I mean, it's every school, every kid who passes through Berkeley High at this point. We should probably move on to other things, Michelle, but we'll get this out in our newsletters. And as things if any organization presents itself, like if there becomes a point person or a couple point parents who, take this up, please do let us know and we'll try and get that out to people as well.
Oh, terrific. Thank you. Thanks for taking up so much of your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay.
So what's left on our agenda is really budget updates, and then the design.
Before we do that, Di, I want to put out there there's 10 of us on our call tonight. I term out at the end of this school year. Di does as well. And we need other people to fill these positions. So, we only have this meeting and one more. And so people, this group needs a president and a secretary in addition to a treasurer to continue going forward. So we need 3 people, not just Mandisa, right? And so we need to start hearing from people who are willing to step into these positions. Di and I would be happy to talk individually to anyone. And if you have people around you that you could check in with, I don't know, what more do we need to say here, Di? Because we don't have a whole lot of time left to find people.
Yeah, I've been talking about the if we can't support a PTA council, which I think we really should, because we do good work. But the other models from other schools is right. You don't have a council, and all the schools work directly to Peralta. But I think we'll be missing is this collective here of schools working abroad together collaboratively to address these issues as a district, opposed to us individually in our small silos. So
Yeah.
I would hate
The
for that.
districts that don't have a council are usually much smaller. Like Albany does not have a council. They work directly with Peralta, but they're a much smaller school district. So again, you know, there's a lot of value, I think, to having a tiered system, but we need people to step into these positions to keep it going. So that's our plug. And there's term limits to the position, so you can do it for 2 years and then you're done. The next thing, do we want to check in about budgets? Because that due date of Thursday is just around the corner here. Did I see someone's hand go up?
Lindsay.
I have something to add about the whole BHS stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There was in 2022 there was a push like internally at BHS to change to do a bell redesign schedule, and it didn't go anywhere at that moment, but I'm trying to say it correctly. The causes of, or the reasons for the redesign still exist today. And so I think if we can connect to those people who are working on the problem, then we can not have to reinvent the wheel a little bit about that. There's things like equity, teacher burnout, the whole 7 rather than 6 classes so that people can fulfill their CSU requirements and have electives, the rotation of classes so that if you're habitually late, you're not always missing the same class, for example. And then rotating schedule, avoiding having every class meeting every day in order for everybody to get a break. These are all the same problems that we're dealing with today that need to be addressed. There's also budget considerations with a bell schedule redesign. Some options are more expensive or less expensive than others. And what we have to be careful of doing is not replicating other people's failures. So for example, El Cerrito went to a 4x4 block schedule where classes only met for 4 months and it did not work out. There are other models to look for, and some of them aren't neighbors. Some of them are, you know, farther afield. So those are the tips and suggestions I have from being included on that email chain 3 years ago.
I just sent a link that is basically a free thing where you plug in the details of what you want and it gives you which schedules will work for your school. Schools do this all the time. There's only so many variables. So it's if there's opposition to one kind, like the 4x4, we can plug stuff in and come up with 2 or 3 other options that a group could narrow down to see what works.
Thank you for that email. I mean, the website.
Okay.
Erin, go ahead.
Hi, I have 2 questions. One is, sorry, I should have asked at the end of the first talk about LEARNs. What is the next step? Are we just waiting to see if they move forward with this plan to switch to specialists?
I don't think that's, so my understanding of that is that Mildred's going to propose that at the SBAC meeting this week.
Okay.
So anybody who's interested can log in and listen to SBAC. Or you can listen to the recording later. But I think it's going, again, the decisions, some of these are decisions that are just sort of being made around us, and I wanted us to be more informed about them.
Yeah.
And again, what she was saying about, I mean, you can't, I mean, there are legalities about how unions work. You can't just take work from one union and give it to another. It's, you know, It's a
Yeah.
legal problem. And so that's going to have to come back into compliance somehow. You know, and if those two other positions might need to be bargained with the unions, I don't know. But that's all going to be played out at a different level. So it's more, again, I just wanted us to hear another perspective because I feel like we have parents who've been trying to stay involved with all of this. And, you know, we only come at it from our perspective. It's sort of interesting to get it from another.
Yeah, that was very helpful. And then, how are you putting the word out about these roles? I mean, I'm in elementary, so I think there's less people in elementary who feel ready for this, but I could see like all these elementary PTA exec committee members, once they go to middle school, like there's way fewer roles. So how are like they getting
Yeah.
this information?
So, I mean, it's going to go out to the PTAs in our minutes.
Okay.
To be fair, my only role on a PTA before this was as liaison to this meeting. So it's not like I had all this experience. I will say that for the treasurer position that Mandisa's in now, I mean, I think if someone has been a treasurer before, I think it helps. But again, it doesn't have to be that way. You know, I think it's more like this is about a coordination between schools rather than sort of fundraising and supporting and doing engagement with one school. So it's sort of, and you know, there's some room to make this what you want it to be as well.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer left for a second, but if we're still talking about dual enrollment, then some of us are. Say that again, Jennifer.
Sorry, I was just catching up on the chat and I saw that somebody was talking about dual enrollment with sign language in Spanish. And then
Yeah.
I saw that Di had said, is the school board aware of it? And so
No,
I didn't know if that's what
more around
is the school board aware of it?
the school board. So
Comment
is
was.
the school board aware about all of the changes happening at Berkeley High in terms of the PE requirements?
Yes,
And how much of a priority is that?
very
Because
high priority.
excellent. You know, I think
And there's
as
an update at the board meeting this Wednesday on the PE stuff. It's not a discussion item. It'll just be the administration like reporting out to the district. But yeah, that's another opportunity. And I'll be sharing before that meeting all the questions I've received that are not covered in the FAQ. So hopefully, yeah, it's not a discussion, it's just a presentation, but that might be a good place. Yeah.
great, thank you. Will they talk about transitional plan for rising 10th to 12th graders to graduate?
So for rising 10th to 12th graders, like they're not really impacted by this. It's going to be like the kids coming in. So it'll be,
I'm sorry, Jennifer, can I fill you in a little bit on that? Maybe everything's happening so fast. I know there's a lot to keep up with. The administration says that no PE waivers, no club sports, no YMCA, nothing is going to be allowed. And a big chunk of the rising 10th through 12th graders have been counting on that as their graduation plan. And there's not been a lot of information for those students or parents about the fact that all these possibilities are gone. And
yeah, I understand that. So yeah, I think I get what you're saying. I think more information, it's mostly impacting incoming. So 7th graders now will be impacted right in ninth grade. For the rising, for the folks that are older, it'll be a different set of things. I think we still don't know yet.
Yes, and I think that students are starting to get really worried about the fact that they don't know whether they should be submitting course schedule changes. They don't know what will count, what they should submit, and they don't know if they should change their summer plans. I know that 60 seniors are not going to graduate at this point unless they figure it out, and we just don't know the scale of the problem. Is this 500 students? Is this, 600 students? How many students are? And I think I'm trying to get the powers that be to talk about both what will be the transitional plan for this 1 year of grace that we have for our rising 10th through 12th graders, And what's the working group for the longer term plan so that we can make a seriously good plan for the longer term that also complies with the ed code, but still meets all of our needs.
Yeah, I think the people that'll be impacted the most, and full disclosure, my kid is one of them, are kids that will be rising 11th graders who do not have any PE requirement done yet. So that's the like, and that's a very small segment of the Berkeley population, but based on what I've been told. So, but those are the kids, I don't know. The answer is I don't know right now, but it's one of the questions that I have to pose. Yeah.
And I think everybody is so concerned about the rising ninth graders and the longer term plan. We do have till December to work on that. But nobody has considered what we have to do in the next month to help these kids make a plan.
And I don't think it's fair to say nobody, because I for sure am somebody who
I'm
has thought
sorry.
about that. No, that's okay. I'm just saying, like, I think we are thinking about that, but I think most of the kids that have filed for like exemptions or waivers are doing a sport in 9th or 10th grade. And so like it sounds like you and me, right? Our kids who are not in a sport and have not like done this yet in 9th and 10th grade. Yeah, I think that's another thing, but it's definitely on my radar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate both, because I know that parents want to get involved in some of the planning, but they don't know who to turn to. And people saying, well, is it a district, is it a school board, is it a school? I said, it's going to be a joint effort here. I mean, everybody cares, and everybody got to kind of put their noses in the grindstone to make out the next plan. I think
For sure.
the short term, we just have to figure out what we're going to tell these kids just to see if they have to change their course requests. And also, only the school knows if this is 100 or 500 kids. Like, they're the ones with the records, not the parents. And I think I don't think
No,
it's
I know that's what I'm basing my statement on. Yeah.
more because since the 10th grade to 12th graders and their parents have not been told, I was told by the VPs that they need to write to their counselors so the counselors can start gathering some numbers.
So I think we probably need to shift back to checking in about the checks to Harvey Young here. But I really do I think that I'm glad to see that, we've got parents interested in wanting to let's get this out to all of our parents to see who can get involved in maybe a work group or something to help.
Can I ask one last question? Simple yes, no.
Go ahead, Scott.
So if you have an 11th grader who's planning to do club sport next year and do the waiver, will they still be able to get the waiver next year?
No, not at this point. Berkeley High is no longer offering any PE waivers for YMCA or club sports. Unless something.
But the waivers, there will still be some waivers for this year.
That's
right?
not,
Like
yeah, Scott, that's my understanding. So for this next year, what was happening, we have a reprieve for 1 year, and what was happening last year will happen again for this year.
So that means if you do club next year, that's grandfathered in 1 more year.
That has not been clarified. There's been
That
no
is
official
my
announcement.
understanding. That's my
Okay.
understanding. But
I'm
there
done with
will
my
be a
question.
clarification on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
Great, because I was told that that is not happening for next year, that they didn't meet the CDE. So thank you for any clarification we hear about that.
Great, thank you.
We'll all keep our eyes out for that on Wednesday. So is anyone here wanting to check in about these or need to talk about the checks that are due on the 1st on Thursday? I think we've only heard back that 2 schools have paid so far.
We've
Willard
approved
paid.
it. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Willard's paid.
Willard's paid. Aaron, you said
Oxford's approved it and
Okay.
has a proposed budget, so we are ready to pay.
Malcolm X was confirmed paid.
Okay.
I just hope everyone did read through. Harvey had a very straight, we don't get the money. I felt like I read it. We're going to have to cut bodies. And the superintendent's email gave a little more context to it about why they need the check by May 1st, but they're not going to cash it till June. So I just want to make sure everyone understands the implications. Okay, well, I think people offered suggestions on the listserv email, so hopefully everyone's got some guidance and
Yeah.
work with the principals. Okay.
And I'm just wanting to say out loud, yeah, Erin, anybody's welcome to come and listen in on that. It's a public meeting. You're not allowed to vote unless you're a voting representative, but anyone can come and listen. And but it is a lot to listen through. Like it's, I think, a 2-hour meeting. I think it's every Wednesday from now until what, mid-May? No, longer than that. End of May probably. And it's 2 hours, not an hour and a half. So
Okay, thank you. There was
You're
just a lot of
welcome.
excitement around the Learns coordinator position, and so I just wanted to offer them a venue.
yeah, totally. And it's
Yeah.
something too, though, where I think you could probably get the recording and then like just, you know,
Yeah.
move to that point. And I don't know that listening real time adds much.
Great, thank you.
And again, for anyone who is interested in being president of the PTA council, you get to sit on the superintendent budget advisory committee meeting and vote on things. Oh, the glamour. Lindsay, go ahead.
I have a question about the SBAC meetings.
Yeah.
So recently so is it your understanding that it's a meeting that is covered by the Brown Act? Do you know?
That's not something I know.
Jennifer,
Jennifer,
do you
you know?
know if it's covered by the Brown Act, the SBAC meetings?
I don't think so because it's not elected officials.
But okay, so
I'm not a Brown
so
Act expert, but I don't think so. So take that for what
okay.
it is.
Yeah, I thought that the only meetings like a meeting that is like a PTA meeting is covered by the Green Act, which has less stringent requirements, but still requires like some kind of like, open public meetings. And then the Brown Act is more strict for like, district committees, but I didn't know if it was just like elected officials or not.
The Brown Act is direct elected officials. So the Brown
Direct
Act,
elected.
yeah. So it's like, that's why I don't think that SBAC is, because it's like appointments based on their election, based on like separate elections, but it could be covered by the Green Act. But it's definitely not
Okay.
a Brown Act. I'm 99% sure it's not a Brown Act committee. It might be a Green Act committee.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
so
even know what the
confusing.
implications are for either of those.
Well, I'm wondering because of the secret ballots that are going on right now in the SBAC committee, like
There's
how
what secret ballot?
you guys are voting via Google Forms and nobody knows who's voting what way. That's a
Is that
secret ballot.
a straw poll? Like to try and figure
It's
out what
not a
people are
straw
voting?
poll.
It's not
It's a
that.
secret. It's a
Yeah,
secret ballot.
I think the only ones that have been done that way are considered the straw polls. When we actually vote, we have to out loud say something.
Okay,
That's my
so
understanding too.
these
I have
things.
to, they call a roll and I have to say, they say PTA council and I say whatever I say. And then they say whatever other groups, right?
So what is
if
the
it's,
purpose of these secret straw polls then? Why are,
I
if
think it's, so they're trying to get a sense of what they need to get more information on. And I think they don't, honestly, I think in part it's timing, but I think they want to get a sense of what areas need more information to move forward on. So they straw poll and then, present more on in a certain area, and then it's voted on.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. That's helpful. I still think a straw poll is a vote, though, just FYI,
Well,
personally.
what I was told is sometimes those are used because if a committee is leaning yes on certain things, no on other things, and there's a chunk in the middle they can't decide about, that's the one they need more information on, but they don't know where to spend their meeting time so people can make their voting decision.
I have to be right back. I'm hearing crying with my kids, so I will be right back.
Let's vote Rita in for another term.
While she's gone. That's
Exactly.
mean.
She can do another position. Hmm.
The swapperoo.
Yeah.
Are you offering to swap with her, Scott, or something?
No, no, no. You should be president, Di.
No. Well, let me take a straw poll here. One point of our agenda was we're hoping to have a in-person meeting. Oh my gosh, in May.
Ooh.
Would folks here be interested in that? Just a quick straw poll, thumbs up, thumbs down, too hard, too difficult.
I think that we should have it like at a park potluck with our kids, you know, like just a community party basically instead of like a meeting.
Okay, okay. We're happy,
This-
Rita and I are happy to
Yeah,
coordinate.
like a community meeting, like the kind we have at the schools.
Okay,
Yeah, we have those kind of meetings at the schools. That would be good. Like a community meeting, we bring the kids, bring the
Yeah.
family,
okay,
community, yeah, bring some food.
yeah. 5:36 time, yeah.
Or just look at the sunset, you know,
Okay,
give like
okay.
an hour and a half before sunset.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Maybe we'll throw out, yeah, maybe we'll throw out some dates and times and see what folks feel they can attend. So Rita, I just jumped to like a possible May meeting in-person date. So
I was thinking, why don't we? Where most of us going to be back in town by Monday evening because we have school on Tuesday morning. We could just do Monday evening. I don't know.
No, we're coming back from camping. You don't want to see me.
Okay. And Vicky's not here, so I can say I'm working on a little thing for her. For all of the things that Vicky does. All the roles that she fills. Yeah, I mean, we can put out a poll and see what works best for people. That's fine.
so we've hit all the agenda points, Rita.
That's amazing. And we have 12 more minutes. Is there anything else anyone needs to check in on before we end for tonight? We never had Chris Albeck back. And you know, he had that car problem at our last meeting, and so he couldn't come, and then he couldn't come tonight. And you know, I would say that he'd be a good person to have come periodically because our curriculum across subjects is going to keep getting updated, you know, year to year in, year out. And so having updates for parents, I think, is important. Maybe not doing it in the spring because it seems like they do their own sort of report outs in the spring at their own meetings. I think last year we had him come to talk to us, and then that same week he had 3 other sort of information sessions. So maybe trying to do it in the fall instead of the spring would be a reasonable alternative. But I think it's important to keep up with year to year.
Would he come in May?
Well, so if we're doing an in-person, I don't know that we necessarily, I mean, we can invite him, but I don't necessarily know that we want like a PowerPoint presentation in person if we're meeting like, I mean, Di was thinking field work, but we could also do a park or something.
Yeah, folks suggested a park where our kids can come too.
Yeah.
For the Chris Albeck thing, may I suggest planning in advance of conference week? So I know it's pretty early, but maybe
Oh.
your September meeting so that parents have an idea of what their kids are being taught in school and can ask more informed questions during parent-teacher conference.
That's a good idea. So you'd have a meeting that at the end of August, like the back to school PTA council meeting, end of August, and then end of September, have Chris Albeck come, and then people can go to their conversations with their teachers a little bit more informed. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, well, I mean, we can end here 9 minutes early. Much appreciated everyone for logging in tonight.
My only question is if the middle schools have like PTA parent email lists, or is it only through the schools? Because I was thinking that if we do end up needing to distribute more information, like how do we do
Ours
that?
just goes through the school. I mean, I'm at my middle schoolers at King, and we get, I believe, all of our information.
So I think Dan, just a good question, Michelle, about getting information out. Our BPTA listserv goes to middle school PTAs as well, and we ask them to put it into their e-trees. So there are e-trees in all 3 middle schools.
Okay, so that if something went to the general one, then people at that middle school can choose to put it
Yeah.
in their middle school's e-tree.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And there's also direct contacts if you need them. But yeah, Longfellow has their own that goes out every Monday, for example. So if you get it in by Friday, they'll put it in there.
Maybe King's just isn't utilized because I think what we get is a principal email.
Correct. Kings, I don't want to out to anybody, but the person who's doing Kings is a little burnt out and so does not have a system, but she will put stuff out if you ask her to. And then if she doesn't do it in the next couple of days, then she's asked you to ask her again or remind her again.
Like it.
So yeah, but you should be getting a new one because she's graduating.
Gotcha.
I was trying to figure out how to communicate with parents without like, I don't know, going too big. Like I didn't want to like deal with the media, or I don't want to be I want to be a team player with the district and problem solving. I don't want to be seen as like, you know,
I wouldn't think going through the principals would be a problem, though. They're going to be interested in helping to resolve this as well.
okay. Because we've been given this grace period, so like I really want to like make sure people use it, and the people at the district just they're exhausted, they're tired, so
Yeah,
they need a little push. And if they know that parents really care about this, then they'll work harder on it. So that's why we have to email people. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for letting me drop in, and I feel like I've a little hijacked the meeting here, but I thought this would be a group of people that would want to know this information.
it's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Yes.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone, for your work. Keep it up. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.